people are more risk averse than willing to take on that risk. So even if you know kind of on the back end that you have all these orders, you might not feel as compelled to be like, you know what, let me just get a 6 head. You're still compelled to be like, you know, I think a single head will do. Maybe I can work a few hours extra and that's okay. That's your natural, you naturally gravitate towards that option. So people always underbuy, right, then overbuy, given the right circumstance. But there's cases where you shouldn't overbuy. Like that would be a stupid business decision to make.
In your experience, is the usual that people underbuy?
There's a lot more people that underbuy than overbuy, for sure, 100%. Because what's the natural human tendency to do? Mitigate risk, right? So the most natural thing to do is, oh, let me start off with this and see how it goes. Yeah. Very rarely do you be like, oh yeah, let me get a 6 head. It's like, oh, I overbought and I only needed this. Natural tendency of human psychology is to mitigate that risk. So you think it's like, oh, yeah, I could use a 2 head, but you know, it is an extra, you know, $5,000-$6,000. You know what? Let me save that and see how it goes.
But that's exactly why I ask, is like, in your experience, most of the time they underbuy. So that means that if somebody's listening to this right now, they should be thinking, crap, if most people are actually underbuying, then that means that there's a very good chance that I should not make that mistake.
Yeah. But it also always depends on your circumstance. But you're right. If your circumstance is, because even the person that has a orders already lined up, their natural tendency is still to underbuy, because they want to mitigate that risk, right? Like that's just, it's like people are more risk averse than willing to take on that risk. So even if you know kind of on the back end that you have all these orders, you might not feel as compelled to be like, you know what, let me just get a 6 head. You're still compelled to be like, you know, I think a single head will do. Maybe I can work a few hours extra and that's okay. That's your natural, you naturally gravitate towards that option. So people always underbuy, right, then overbuy, given the right circumstance. But there's cases where you shouldn't overbuy. Like that would be a stupid business decision to make if you overbuy and then you don't have a website, you don't have any source of getting revenue or business contacts, you don't have contacts that you can reach out to refer you. You work a full-time job and you're just doing this, 2 hours a day. How do you expect to fulfill the capacity of a 6 head machine, right? So there are cases where it doesn't make sense, right? And it will be making a stupid business decision to buy large upfront if you're not going to put in the work on the back end. But if you're doing this full time, if you're in the grind 10, 12 hours a day, if you're out there knocking on doors and getting samples and getting clients, and you have connections with schools and stuff that you've done other business with before that you have an in with, right? Like she said, her daughter is a realtor. She has an in with the real estate industry. She can get other agents to get swag or whatever the case is for their clients. Rep their real estate company. Right? That's a natural in that she has. If you don't have something in like that, or you're not willing to look for that in your network, and you're doing this 2 hours a day after work, after working 10 hours a day in your full-time job, then no, don't go for a 6 or 8 head and think that like, yeah, I'll grow into it. Right. 3 or 4 of those heads are going to be at waste for 3 to 6 months, 6 to 12 months if you're not putting in the work. So it all depends on the person's circumstance. But most cases, when they have that circumstance, people tend to underbuy. And the beauty of this is the one job that they could have lost that they had to turn away because they underbought is probably worth the same amount as the cost of that extra head. That's the thing that people don't realize. It's like, yeah, I just turned away the $5,000 order because I couldn't fulfill. Or I had to outsource it. Even if you didn't turn it away and you outsourced it, you're not making $5,000 on that order, right? You're making a fraction of that because someone else is doing the work, right? But you're retaining the client, right? But then that $5,000 could have easily paid off the extra head if you just thought about it, way 3 to 6 months in advance of getting that order. But no one else can know your business better than the actual people in it day in and day out. So, I can't tell you that you need a 2 head or you need a 6 head. You are the best judge of that because you know what work you're willing to put in, I can't be the judge of that. I can't be there to hold your hand and say like you need to put in this amount of hours. Hey, if you're gonna get the 6 head, you better be grinding away X amount of hours per day and getting business. You better be advertising. I can't be in control of that. So the best judge of what type of equipment you need is you, based on your circumstance, whether you're doing this full-time, part-time, whether you have the space, whether you're willing to put in the work, how quick of a learner are you willing to go through the training and practice on the craft, are you willing to scale and hire, all those things. Everybody's circumstance is different. There could be a 2-3 person partner shop that you have some help, then maybe you could get a larger machine, because you can have more people getting the orders and someone fulfilling it, right? But if you're just a one-person shop, also the circumstance changes. So it all depends on the circumstance, but like I said, naturally people tend to gravitate towards something that's more conservative. Maybe even the 2-3 man shop, they were supposed to, or the right thing, the good business decision is to get a 4 or 6 head to maximize value, and they went for a 2. That's still under buying, right? But they're getting bigger than, people tend to try to mitigate that risk and go one step under instead of one step above what their current means are or current status is. The ramp up time to getting a new machine, right? You gotta learn it. You gotta do training. You have to practice. You're getting orders in. You're doing stuff, and you're growing. That's dynamic. That's changing, right? But the machine is set. You can't just pop on another head and be like, yep. And now it's you just piece together a 1 head into a 2 head, right? You need to think way in advance. If you want to add in another head, well, the cost is more now than having a 2 head to start out with.